On3 has already released its first post-spring top 25 rankings. Wow. As if it wasn't too early, but we got to do it. Ari Wasserman releasing his top 25 post-spring top 25. So let's look at this. Miami is at number 20. We'll get to that in a minute, but I want to talk about teams 1 through 5 really quick. We've got, for those of you who may not be able to see this and maybe just listening, we've got Penn State at 1, Texas at 2, Clemson at 3, Ohio State at 4, and LSU at 5. Wild to me that LSU has already gone up to number 5 when they're barely competing for the SEC, but that's neither here nor there. Clemson coming off probably one of its worst years, but somehow still winning the ACC and making the college football playoff. Number 3. What sticks out to you when you look at this top 25?
It's that top 5 also. It's the top 5. It's Illinois at 10,
Yeah.
which Illinois at 10, Brett Bielema at 10, Florida at 11 after they were going to fire Billy Napier, week 3 in. Like, oh, they had a late surge last year. DJ Lagway is going to be the next Heisman guy. Yeah, I don't know. Cam Scatterbo got drafted. He was all of Arizona State. So they're at 13.
Well, in fairness, I think Arizona State's had 2 stud wide receivers that they lost late in the season, which is why Cam Scatterbo became such a defining figure on the offense for Arizona State, specifically in the college football playoff. But going into I explicitly remember covering this for the Big 12 championship game, them losing their 2 star wide receivers to injury, forcing them to lean on Cam Scatterbo. So I think they're returning both of those wide receivers, which is why Ari may have put them so high at 13. But go on.
The whole list is kind of boggling to me. Like Notre Dame at 7. Do you know who they got at quarterback to relieve
Lloyd Carr's grandson, I believe it is, right? Lloyd Carr. Is AJ Carr or something like that? I forgot what his name is. I know it's Lloyd Carr's grandson. That's all I know.
Either way, there's so many question marks here that.
Which is interesting. He's playing at Notre Dame and not Michigan. If he was good enough, don't you think he would be playing at Michigan?
I mean, I know that was a rough go. I don't know if they still have sour grapes in that family after the way he was kind of run out of town at the end. I mean, remember his last year was that season opening loss to Appalachian State. Some people are able to let bygones be bygones. And in some cases, once that cord is cut, there is no rethreading it. So, I mean, who knows? Or maybe he wasn't even recruited by Michigan. Who knows?
That's true.
I just the whole list boggles my mind. Honestly, it's. I almost want to say it kind of goes off on the realm of I want to know what drugs is Ari Wasserman on, because this is a little weird.
I watched him tease this top 25, and he was saying basically that he looked at depth, the roster and roster depth. So like how many elite players did they have, and then how many good players were playing behind those elite players, in other words. And again, I love the criteria. I think that's great criteria to have. I think that's really good. I think you just can't go on who beat who last season, because they're different teams, right? But I also think you kind of got to look at like, okay, who comes in the transfer? How does Miami, this is again, and I know I'm going to sound like a homer when I say this, but how does Miami fall to number 20, right? When you have, and again, I know this is pre Cantwell, but let's just say we keep Cantwell out. Miami, I think, had the number 4 portal class, right? So like they did the 4th best portal class. They're bringing back a relatively young nucleus of a team. They've completely overhauled their defense, but yet you still think Arizona State, BYU, who we just stole their leading wide receiver and punt returner and kickoff returner, and an Illinois team who literally struggled against a Michigan team. I mean, they beat Michigan, but like the first half of that game they were struggling. And then last season, like that was the only team you could realistically say that they beat, that they were good, that was good. And then Michigan wasn't even that good. Right.
No.
And then you look at teams.
Illinois' only headline was Brett Bielema being a dick to Shane Beamer and doing the little signal, the cross signal on the side during the bowl game. Like,
yeah, that was their season highlight. The 4 teams to me that just like, I'm just like, I okay. I'm not mad. I'm not in the top 10, but I just don't know how you put Illinois, BYU, Arizona State, South Carolina, who just lost their quarterback to Colorado, Auburn, and Texas Tech ahead of us. And OU, who was and Oklahoma. There's 7 teams in front of us that I'm just like I'm not seeing how they are head over shoulders better than us, where you could literally stack them. I think people's issue is, and I get it. I'm not saying yes, we lost all of our wide receivers and playmakers on offense, our key playmakers. We lost Arroyo, Cam, Xavier, but it's not like the guys who are coming up are steep drop offs. You know what I mean? Like Carson Beck, and even with an injury, again, it's not like we're starting Emory Williams. If we were starting Emory Williams, I would be like, yeah, I kind of get why they did that. It's like, is Carson Beck going to be Cam? Absolutely not. But is he going to be that much lower than Cam? No. Like Malachi Tony, like for all intents and purposes, we didn't have time to go over this and it's a little late, but like according to like all intel on our spring game, Malachi Tony is him. I mean, yes, he's a slot and he's that we got a lot of slot guys, which is my main issue. Got a lot of slots. Um, he is him apparently. And then you have Jojo Trader, who apparently was number 2 to Jeremiah, what's his name? Jeremiah Smith.
Yep.
It's not like the guys that we lost are being replaced by a bunch of jokers. You know what I mean?
You got
So it's
Mark
like,
Fletcher and Jordan Lyle in your backfield and an incredible
yeah,
offensive line. Yeah.
and then everyone was
Now,
making a big deal out of that running back out of North Dakota State, which I have no idea who. I don't know how good he's going to do coming from the FCS. But either way, my point is like people are making big deals about our transfer portal class, but then at the same time, on the other hand, saying, yeah, but I don't know how well you guys are going to do.
I just found it funny that like they have Clemson number 3, and then Miami is the next highest ranked ACC team. And it's like, well, you know what? We don't have enough ACC teams in this top 25. Let's just throw them all next to each other, 20, 21, and 22 with SMU and
Yeah.
Louisville. It's just like, yeah, we got to show them some love. Just throw them in there in the bottom half or whatever this is. I just, yeah, I think if you look at just let's keep on the Miami piece for now because I wasn't expecting Miami to be ranked in the top 5. I also wasn't expecting them to be 20. And I just look at
Yeah.
this as like you said, we went over individual names of people, but if we look at the entire body of work of what UM's issue was looking to improve. They had this generational offense last year that was the greatest in school history and one of the most prolific in college football. The numbers are comparable to 2019 LSU. That's how good the offensive numbers were.
Yeah.
Miami's 3 losses were because of the historically one of the worst defenses in program history. When you look at what they've done in the offseason, their offense went down a little bit only because of some of the production numbers, but all of the right pieces are still there. They got a quarterback that everybody was salivating over in the SEC that if he went anywhere else, they would say, oh my God, they're a national front runner.
Yeah.
So that's what you have offensively. So you went from being once in a generation to statistically really freaking good to a defense that by all, purposes of when you look at across the line of roster and like what they've accumulated in the secondary, it's significantly better. You went from having a secondary that could not defend in zone and very barely was able to line up properly to now having a team that looks like they have shut down corners and very physical safeties. So it sounds like your defense went from being historically bad to average at this
Yeah.
point.
Or at least competitive. Okay, let's use the word
Right.
competitive, right? Like
Right.
let's call a spade, right? Yeah, we were abysmal on the defensive side. So what do? We
Right.
fired our defensive coordinator, hired all new coaches, brought in all new players. So if at worst we won't be that bad, but we could be maybe a little bit better, if not
Yeah.
wholeheartedly overhauled, right?
Yeah.
Then you follow the others of the breadcrumb that okay, Cam Ward did what he did last season, right? It's clear, and yes, again, generational quarterback, generational talent, incredible. But it's also a system we put him in because if the system was broken, Cam probably wouldn't have done as well, right? But Cam plus the system equaled the results we got right on the field. So now you're going to replace it with I think just as competent. I'm not saying as talented, but as competent of a quarterback. And Carson Beck, who, by the way, last year was a front runner for the Heisman, fun fact, until he literally had no O-line, no running game, and his receivers led the country in drops. So, I mean, everyone wants to blame him for not developing or not panning out to being a Heisman contender, but you got to look at who's around him. Now you're going to put him behind one of the best top 5 offensive lines in the country. You're going to give him probably one of the best top 5, top 10 running back rooms in the country. And then you're going to surround him with some pretty decent wide receiver talent. If not, worse comes to worse, you're going to say good with veterans backing them up, right? Because like we don't know what the depth chart is going to look like. A lot of people say it could be a lot of young kids with the people that they brought in the transfer portal being backups and being veterans to help coach up those kids. Some people have it flipped in the exact inverse where they say all those guys that we're bringing in from the transfer portal, whether it's CJ Daniels or the guy from BYU or the guy from Cincinnati, that they're going to start. Either way, my point is you're not losing. And here's the other thing. Like, let me rewind this even more. How many people were talking about Xavier Restrepo last year at this time?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
How many people were talking about Arroyo at this time last year? And look at those
Nobody.
guys. I mean, Restrepo should have been drafted. I think the whole debacle with the combine is it's so ludicrous. But God blessed him, and now he gets to play with his quarterback and can really shine now. But like, you're talking about the most successful wide receiver at Miami in the history of Miami, and then you're talking about an incredible tight end, right? Who was developed here at Miami, and then people are even think. By the way, people think Lofton, who our current tight end is, they think his ceiling's even higher than Arroyo's.
Yep.
So it's like I just don't understand how you know these things, but yet you still put Miami at 20. You still have God knows what's going on at Auburn. I mean, Hugh Freeze has got cancer. Poor guy. Like, I wish nothing bad against him, but he's got a QB dilemma. He has no idea who he's going to scar. He's got like 3 or 4 guys in his QB room right now that are literally all have the same opportunity. You have a team that we blew out in the Gators ahead of us, and then you have a team in Notre Dame who literally lost a lot of their key players to the portal and their quarterback, who, by the way, was average. It wasn't even good, and their 2 quarterbacks who are coming in now are definitely not him. They're not Leonard Riley. Like, if you could
Yep.
tell Notre Dame, hey, you can get 1 year of Leonard Riley, 1 more year of Leonard Riley, or these 2 guys,
Riley Leonard.
Riley Leonard, right?
You got the first name switched because these guys are their 2 first names.
Exactly. But like, if you could bring him back for next year, or start one of the 2 they have now, they're going to bring him back, which means that these guys are not as good. So it's like,
Yep.
I just, it's funny how people can say one thing and then do another. And I'm like, I just am not seeing any consistency here. Because like I said, again, I'm not saying our depth chart is top tier and we're going to win the ACC this year definitively and make it to the college football playoff and get into the semis. That's not what I'm saying. But I definitely think we're still competitive. Are we going to be as electric as we were last year? No. But do I think we'll be more consistent? Absolutely. That's what I think. And I think that's the more important thing to talk about when it comes to the rankings is how consistent are you?